By late 1779, the HMS Jersey, a British man-of-war launched in 1736, had been stripped of her sails, her guns, and her dignity. No longer a ship of battle, she was moored in Wallabout Bay, just off what is now the Brooklyn Navy Yard. But her new purpose was far darker. She had become a floating prison, a ghost ship of misery and death. Built to house 400 men, the Jersey held more than 1,000 prisoners at a time. Over her cruel career, up to 11,000 souls may have passed through her. There was no light, no fresh air. Men slept shoulder to shoulder or simply sat upright, gasping in the foul darkness. Her name soon became infamous. They called her Hell Afloat. Disease ran rampant: dysentery, smallpox, typhoid, yellow fever. Lice and filthy water spread contagion faster than any enemy mosquito. One survivor wrote, "The heat was so intense, their sickly countenances, some dead and corrupted. The air was so foul that at times a lamp could not be kept burning. Bodies were tossed overboard each morning." Christopher Vail said they were thrown out like beasts. Thomas Andros remembered at least 8 men dying every day. Some were buried in shallow graves along the shore. Many more simply disappeared into the harbor. And yet, the ship did not go unchallenged. Survivors wrote of the horror. Christopher Hawkins escaped after only 2 days. Thomas Dring, imprisoned in 1782, wrote a detailed account of life on board. Thomas Andros escaped in 1781 and later published a memoir that shook the nation. The British burned the Jersey in 1783, after the war ended, but her story did not sink with her. In 1708, remains recovered from Wallabout Bay were placed in a crypt in Brooklyn. A century later, in 1908, a 149-foot Doric column was raised, the prison ship Martyrs Monument. It stands in Fort Greene Park today, overlooking the harbor where thousands once suffered. Why does the Jersey still matter? Because more Americans died aboard British prison ships than in any single battle of the Revolutionary War. Because the suffering those men endured helped galvanize public support for independence. Because their memory should not be lost. Artifacts from the Jersey, timbers, shackles, iron fittings, are preserved today at places like Francis Tavern Museum in New York and the Center for Brooklyn History. A few fragments still surface from time to time, reminders of the ghost ship beneath the waves. Wallabout Bay is part of New York Harbor, along the western edge of Brooklyn. It was once controlled by the British, and several prison hulks, including the Jersey, were anchored there. When she was burned and abandoned, her remains lay submerged in the mud for decades. Some were dredged, some were lost, some were preserved. Poet Philip Freneau, a survivor of British prison ships, captured the horror in verse. In human climes, where misery ever reigns, where death in all her dreary pomp remains. And still the names of most who died aboard the Jersey are unknown. The British refused to keep records, seeing these men not as soldiers, but as rebels and traitors. Their memory lives only in journals, poems, letters, and in the monument that stands above them. The Jersey is not just a story of death, it is a story of sacrifice, of forgotten heroes, of men who endured the worst cruelty imaginable in pursuit of a cause greater than themselves. And their story deserves to be told.